Okay, let's go ahead and get into the stock market technical analysis. Figured it was a good time to give a video out because we've got some changes in the market. It's been a pretty tricky market for me today, this morning. Makes sense. We've got kind of post Nvidia volatility going on, and there's been actually some whipsaws, basically false breakdowns, false breakouts, lots of just kind of false moves. It makes sense because the volume's pretty low today. So in general, it's relatively easy to kind of manipulate the market, move it around. Algos can kind of create those false breakouts and breakdowns relatively easily. So just kind of part of this holiday trading because most institutions are out on vacation. So that's the nature of it. So let me kind of show you guys what I'm seeing in the charts. Drop me a thumbs up. And again, if you're interested in the private member group, link in the description below for that one. Okay, so on this, we've got triple Qs. I'm looking at a 15-minute chart. This and the futures are somewhat telling. So on the 15-minute chart, you can see I have this downward channel, all right, where we basically held resistance. Today, basically, they popped it up here, traded up above, and then boom, we've now broke back below. So that's a false breakout. All right, it was a breakout at the time, looked like a breakout. I mean, it wasn't super impulsive, but in general, it was consolidating above. We didn't really have negative divergence. We had it on the RSI on the 15-minute, but nothing on the PPO there. So it was something that when I saw that breakout take place, I thought, okay, makes sense. We broke out. Maybe we want to go in and put in a new divergent high, which would have, I thought maybe we'd pop up right above here, right above this 485.55, put in a new divergent high, and then roll over. So that was the thought process when I saw that breakout. And I'll show you the triple Q, or the futures, NASDAQ futures. Again, it's all about the NASDAQ because of Nvidia. So the NASDAQ futures, if I roll out and look at the, this is a 15-minute chart, but you can see here, breaking out, you break out there. You did, you broke out here, so that was a break above the downtrend line. You did have negative divergence on the RSI, but nothing on the PPO on the 15-minute chart. So it wasn't really telling that this was going to be a false breakout. And then sure enough, we kind of consolidated for a little while. Looked like it was going to continue higher, but then instantly, boom, broke down. You got the sell signal on the 15-minute chart right there when you broke. You really broke both trend lines. This upward trend line, this is the ramp from the overnight market after the Nvidia drop. They ramped it up overnight along this trend line. That's now been taken out. So in general, we've got weakness and breakdowns and sell signals on the 15-minute chart. So that tells me down we go. So back to the triple Qs. And so again, in the private member group, I told everyone I was flipping long, covering my short position here, flipping long for a ramp. But then once I noticed it was a false breakout, I flipped short, instantly got back short. So I'm short again. I kind of gone full circle, gave up a little profit in the while doing it. But that's the nature of false breakouts. Sometimes they show that they're going to break out. And so once you notice it's a false breakout, you have to take action and change your position. And that's what I did. So breakout, went long, false breakout, went back short. I'm now short. So here's where I think we're heading. Let me go back to the hourly chart. We've got a gap to fill. It's a very obvious target. It's right here at 463.65-ish. There's a gap. We have not filled that gap. We're in a downtrend line. We had a false breakout. There should be enough energy, I believe, for us to pretty much just drop right down and to fill that gap. So that's where I believe we're heading in the short term, dropping down to fill that gap. You'll probably get some buyers there. I mean, it's an obvious gap, so I think you probably get a few buyers there. I don't think it's going to rally off to new all-time highs, but I do think there could be a little bounce there. So something to look at on that one. So that's a drop from where we're at now, a continued drop of about 1.5% roughly. Okay, so that seems like the highest probability, especially given that we had a false breakout because, again, people like me flipped long. They now have noticed it's a false breakout and they'll be looking to exit their position. Now, maybe we get a false breakdown, I mean, it's been pretty whippy. I mean, if they ramp it back up and recover this, that could be a false breakdown, but We just have to take it as it shows up in the chart. And as of right now, it's a false breakdown. I think we're going to go fill that gap before we get any kind of a bounce. Okay, and I'm going to keep it pretty short for the video, but Nvidia, we want to look at that because obviously earnings came out. This thing has not seen much of a bounce, and in fact, the selling's starting to increase. Now, I know I've seen a couple of YouTubers who are predominantly bulls talk about the market's strong even with Nvidia. Like, they don't need Nvidia now is kind of what they're saying. They're saying the rest of the market will hold up another. But here's the thing. Nvidia is the key to the momentum. And so if Nvidia starts to drop, because a lot of people who are bulls have long positions in Nvidia. And if that starts to drop, it's going to put pressure. It's indexed too. It's going to put pressure on the indexes. And these things usually trade together. Today we're seeing all of these were up. All these Mag 7 stocks were up except for Nvidia. And Nvidia's starting to sell off more, and it's starting to drag the rest of these down. So again, just like Nvidia has been kind of the leader in this mania market, I think it's going to be the leader to the downside. So even if the others are trying to hold up, Nvidia going down should drag the others down, and then ultimately they all will trade together. So we're seeing Nvidia basically break some support right here, which is at 118.45. There's some support. That's a daily chart, so we got another hour. They might hold it right in there, kind of keep it right at that support level. But it's starting to break as of right now, so we'll see how that closes. And that is putting pressure. I'm noticing the rest of these stocks. Meta's down now. Google's down. These were all positive. Amazon is basically flat. The ones that were up are starting to sell off, and the only one that's kind of holding up is Apple. But even it's starting to sell off. Here's the hourly chart. You can see it was up here. Nvidia was still down and Apple was up, but it can't stay up there without Nvidia, because Nvidia is the mania. It's not like people in a vacuum just own Nvidia, or they don't own Nvidia and they own the other Mag 7s. Most people, if they're going to own the Mag 7s, they've got Nvidia too. And it's indexed, all right? I think Nvidia is the second largest company in the market behind Apple, and it has a major impact. Okay, so you see Apple starting to sell down, and Nvidia's already down. It's going to bring everything else down with it. So we'll see how the day closes. Maybe they'll try to bring in another wave of buying on these things, but watch Nvidia. It's pretty key. Eli Lilly, there's no actionable trade quite yet, but I do want to point it out because I think we're going to get it pretty soon. Eli Lilly just recently put in a new divergent high. So if I just kind of get rid of these lines, look at the momentum just dropping off. RSI starting to turn down. There's your PPO. PPO starting to turn down more. It looks like you're going to get a bearish crossover here. And the price action, you just barely put in a slightly higher high above that former high. They sold into it both days that it made that new higher high. They sold into it both days, and today we're seeing more selling. So there's also a trend line to watch coming off of the March of 2023 lows. We've got support there. They're probably going to hit that and hold that today, but a break of that trend line would be a sell signal, and given the divergence, I think we're going to get it. So keep an eye out for break of trend line for the next sell signal in Eli Lilly. That should really bring this thing down, gap fill, and probably hit the 200-day moving average. I think they'll likely come in about the same area. That would be a target for right now, and that would be a drop from where we're at to even to gap fill. It's about 14%. So that's what I'm looking at in the short term on this one. Need that sell signal, which would be the break of that trend line. And the US dollar, very important to watch. It's been rallying. It did hit resistance today. It's about 101.50 on the DX dollar futures. You can see resistance. There's a reaction. Just hit it there again, and we did get a reaction. So a break above that, and you've likely sparked a rally in the dollar. If I look at the daily chart here, you can see we've already started to rally, but we break above that, it should be probably a pretty impulsive push higher in the dollar. And a dollar moving up is negative for stocks, so something to watch for. You know the key level, I just pointed it out, but going back to the hourly charts, really right about here, about 101.50. Break above that, dollar should rip, stocks should start coming down pretty heavily. So to wrap up, as far as I can tell, as of right now, we've got a false breakout. We're back within this downward channel. The most obvious level of support is this gap fill. Of course, the hour's still trading, so if they want to ramp it up and give this a false breakdown, they could do that. This candle hasn't closed yet, but as of right now, this is where we're at. So I'm gonna get the video out, guys, and I will catch you guys on the next one.